Folks, remember back in the day, in the olden times, where the area around the Calgary Flames arena was basically just a series of parking lots that no one really thought about or went to for a long period of time? Well, the good news is that time is over, and the Stampede Park area, partially because of the development of a new Flames arena, and partially because of a bunch of other things that the city's got going on, there's a lot of interesting, exciting, and potentially, let's call it, temporarily disruptive activities happening in the area. So we haven't done a construction update in Stampede Park in a while, and to be blunt, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's probably about time to sit down and sort of just have a quick update in terms of the overall Stampede Park cultural and entertainment district construction picture. So we've basically broken this into three sections: construction that's happening now, construction that is going to happen soon, and construction that'll happen eventually. Things that are happening now, or basically, there's activities happening near enough to right now that we're comfortable saying that they're actively happening. Soon means that things aren't happening right now, but they'll be happening, soon. We have vague timelines, at least, for when these things will happen. And then things that will happen eventually are things that we don't quite have timelines for yet, but depending on what happens with the stuff that's happening soon, those things will also happen. So let's delve into things, shall we? First things first, let's talk about Scotia Place. If you've been living under a rock for the last while, congratulations on escaping. The good news is the Calgary Flames are going to be moving into a new arena in 2027 named Scotia Place. Scotia Place construction began roughly a year ago. They started doing some prep. They did the actual ribbon cutting and groundbreaking ceremony just over a year ago, and the city released an update earlier this month on how things are going, and the short answer is so far so good. According to the city, they have removed 98% of the underground material in the site, 308,000 cubic meters. Since then, they've started doing foundation work. They've been installing foundation and structural piles. They have, according to the city, 1,100 deep concrete supports in place, and they're in the midst of putting in the concrete foundation. According to the city, quote, crews are progressing clockwise from the southeast corner to key areas like the loading dock and the dressing room. So essentially, they are, as they're going, if you've been around the site, they've got a giant pit. The giant pit's being held up by by walls, shoring walls on the outside, and on the inside they are putting in forms, pouring concrete, and sort of going around in a circle and doing all that work. So it is work that takes a while, and they're going to be working underground for much of the year. But things are things are underway. The big thing that's happening this summer is they'll be connecting the site with the city's district heating system, which will support sustainability and their overall greenhouse gas reductions. If you're going, why does that matter for me? Well, here's a couple of things that's going on. One, about the fall, you're going to see the Scotia Place construction hit street level. Right now, they're it's a 30. They started 36 feet below grade, and they're working their way up. So they're pouring foundations, installing stuff, and sort of as those structures get put into place, they move up. So between structural concrete and structural steel, you're going to gradually see some stuff. So the word was fall or so that we'd be able to sort of see things popping up. That's my understanding. That's still the expectation, but we'll see what additional news we get in the near future. The installation of things and the connecting of it to the internal power system means that they got some stuff to do. So if you've been down the Stampede Park area in the last little while, or will be going between now and the beginning of the NHL season, bad news, there's going to be some road closures. So according to the city, between July 21st and October 9th of 2025, the intersection of 12th Avenue Southeast and Stampede Trail is closed to all vehicle and pedestrian traffic for underground electrical and mechanical work. That's a long way of saying they got to dig that thing up so they can connect the building to the systems. They're also going to be closing Stampede Trail between 13th Avenue and 14th Avenue as part of the installation of what they're calling the Stampede Trail redevelopment. If you've been in the Stadalome area, I'd say over the last couple of years, you've noticed that they completely redid the front of the building with the wider boulevards, the different brickwork on the outside. The idea is eventually that's going to go all the way up to 12th, and so between 12th and the 17th Avenue extension, you're all going to have that fancy brickwork to sort of let you know that hey, you're in the cultural and entertainment district, you're in the festival area. So the problem is they have to take some time to do that. So they're doing that as they're doing the rest of the development and stuff. So if you're looking for clues as to how far the building of everything has progressed, the best thing I can tell you is once all the brickwork and stuff is done in an area, they ain't redoing that. So if you're going, oh, are they going to have to dig up whatever? If the brickwork, the fancy brickwork hasn't been installed yet, they're probably going to dig up that area at some point because when they're done doing all the stuff they need to do, then they're good with putting in the brickwork. So beware if you're coming to any of the preseason games for the Flames or the early season games for the Hitmen. Be prepared for a bit of an adventure getting into the parking from the north side. But the nice thing is the 17th Avenue extension is open, and so if you need to park, you can just come in on the McLeod side and come in through 17th. So that is the first bit of news. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and we can transition this to discuss another thing that's going to be starting to actively happen soon, is between July 28th and July 31st, they're going to close down 17th Avenue from McLeod to Stampede Trail because they're going to be clearing some stuff out. If you've been following the news or not been following the news, here's the gist of what's happening. There's going to be hotels in the Stampede Park area. There's going to be technically 3, but basically 2. There's 2 developments with one of them having 2 hotels. The first development, the one that's going to be built first and the one that's potentially going to be built this year, is the Autograph Collection. Marriott and Truman have partnered on a boutique hotel. So you know where Weedickville has been for forever in Stampede Park, that little area just south of the Victoria Park LRT station, right when you enter Stampede Park. You go into Stampede Park on the west side, you turn right, and there's all the stuff there. That's going away now because they're putting a hotel there. It's a small area anyway, but it's going to be, the hotel will have a bunch of stuff involved with it. So Marriott already has the Dorian as part of the Autograph Collection on 5th. But this will add some hotel capacity closer to Stampede Park since the BMO Center expansion and the increase in convention traffic they've had. One of the bigger things that the Stampede and CMLC has been trying to do is sort of add some hotel inventory to the closer area. Typically, if you're going to something at Stampede Park, you're either staying downtown or you're staying later, elsewhere in the Beltline, maybe towards the Central Memorial Park area. There's some hotels there. The hope was that they get some hotels in and around the park, because that way you have people hanging out in the area more, spending money there rather than sort of spending money downtown and, things like that. So the idea is keep them downtown, give them more stuff to do. So the good news is that's happening. So the cool thing is, according to the press release announcing the Autograph Collection Hotel, there's going to be a quote 14,000 square feet of food and beverage offerings. Among the things they mention are several restaurants, a lobby bar, a coffee shop, and a rooftop lounge. So if you're someone who comes down to Stampede Park for events and you're like, oh, do I just want to go to the rink and hang out before a game? This will give you some other options. And the cool thing is that, you're going to, the idea is you want to give people more things to do when they go down there and more places to do things, and this will help. So construction is expected to begin later in 2025. It is still working through the permitting process, so we don't know exactly when it's going to start construction. But if you want an indication that it's going to be happening soon, the fact that they're closing down 70th Avenue in Stampede Park for a week to clear out the area, I think the fact that site prep is happening is a good indication that things are going to be progressing pretty quickly. Because case in point, when Scotia Place started active construction, right before then, that's when they started doing all the site prep and sort of getting everything out of there and clearing the area, so that basically once all the permitting stuff is ready, they can get people into the site and get going. So construction, again, expected to start later this year, and the hotel is expected to open sometime in 2028. So let's transition from things that are actively happening right now to things that will be happening soon. When we discuss the addition of the Autograph Collection Hotel to Stampede Park, we mentioned there was other stuff happening in the hotel front. Here's the other piece of the puzzle. It's also Truman and also Marriott, and they're combining to work on 2 new towers. The towers will be a combination of residences and hotels. The 2 towers are W Calgary Tower and the JW Marriott. It's kind of an interesting project. So the entrance to Stampede Park at 17th Avenue. If you go diagonally across there to the northwest, there is that big empty parking lot. Longtime Calgarians will remember the overpass from the elevated LRT entrance, and then the spirally little ramp thing there. That big parking lot. That parking lot, I believe, is technically the intersection of 15th Avenue and McLeod Trail. It's big, it's empty, and there hasn't really been a lot going on there. That'll be the site of the hotels. So there's going to be a 69-story tower. That will be the W Calgary Hotel. And the W Calgary Hotel is going to be a big one. It's expected to be one of the tallest buildings in the city, if not the tallest building in the city. It'll include, according to the press release, specialty restaurants, the brand's signature living room bar, a rooftop bar, and an observation deck. So lots of stuff to do there. The JW Marriott Tower will be only 62 stories, a little bit smaller, but it'll include a lot of the stuff that you see in the JW Marriotts throughout the world. A market, a garden, a quote-unquote curated retail area, and more. Obviously, these aren't going through the permitting process yet, so we know a little bit less about them than we know about the Autograph Collection Hotel, but it's kind of a big deal because, again, much like with the Autograph Collection, the idea is you want to have a bit more hotel inventory close by. If you're familiar with hotels at all, these are fairly high-end brands, and so the idea is that if you're trying to attract your monocle types, the high rollers, the highfalutin crowd, you kind of want to get them some hotel choices. And the idea is, I think, that the more diversity in the mix of hotels you can offer, especially closer to Stampede Park, it's going to allow folks to spend more time in the area, similar with the Autograph Collection Hotel. So for those curious, Autograph Collection Hotel going to be opening, I believe they're aiming for 2028. It's a boutique hotel. It's smaller. It's only hotel rooms in the complexes, and it's a little bit closer to the BMO Center and Stampede Park itself. It's actually in the Stampede Park grounds. The W Calgary and the JW Marriott Calgary are going to be across McLeod, a block up at 15th Avenue. They're going to be starting construction a little bit later. I think they're aiming to get construction going sometime in 2026, permitting process notwithstanding, and they still got to go through that. So that's going to be the thing that determines when they can get going. But probably, if you're ballparking it, I'd say assume they start roughly a year after the Autograph Collection stuff happens, and then they'll open again roughly a year after they open, probably around 2029. But as the construction progresses, much like we've seen with Scotia Place, we'll have a better idea. But again, if the idea is that it's in everyone's best interests, if we're going to be embarking upon a redevelopment of Stampede Park, to just have stuff for people to do down there. So it's not just, the big criticism I think of Stampede Park in its past, and I think it's a valid criticism, is there wasn't a ton of stuff for people to do in the area. And so even that west side of the park, as you get onto the McLeod Trail side, getting down onto 17th on the far east side of 17th, there wasn't a ton of stuff to do. And so I think people didn't go down and sort of make a day of it. Once you get past the Vic Park LRT station, I think moving west, the big hub of activities, that area closer to the ship and anchor a few blocks away. So if the idea is that you want to sort of fill in the gaps, you kind of have to have stuff in between, to draw people to them and sort of, create some foot traffic. So if you're thinking, okay, couple fancy hotels and some restaurants and bars and rooftop stuff, I mean, I think the rooftop bar and the observation deck with some cool views of the mountains and the whole city, and Stampede Park, especially once you get into Stampede time, and once you get, people love the fireworks. People love a good view of mountains and city and fireworks, and I think that could be a cool tourist draw. So, again a few years away from being completed, but the fact that after we've been hearing about this, CMLC working on a hotel announcement for a while, it happening and it being a kind of a big deal, it's kind of exciting. So the bad news is that means that you're going to see some more construction on the west side of Stampede Park for a few years. So just remember, it's going to be sweet when it's done. And technically something that's already started some construction activity elsewhere, but we'll touch on the Victoria Park, Stampede Park area reasonably soon, is the Green Line LRT. For those of you unfamiliar, the Green Line has been, the idea is a north central / south central LRT. For funding reasons, the south central part is going to be happening first. So the northern terminus of that line is the Stampede Park area. I believe the term they're using is Event Center / Grand Central. It'll be about a block or so, 2 blocks north of Scotia Place. So it is going to get started soon. We have this lovely graphic here of sort of the alignment, so you have an idea of roughly where the stations are going in and around the area. They're in the process of figuring out the alignment through the downtown core. It's a whole thing. We don't need to get into it. This isn't that type of channel right now. But needless to say, they're going to be starting once plans get more concrete. Work in and around the north side of Stampede Park to sort of work on, preparing for the construction of the Green Line. So it's not going to be something that's, I think, terribly disruptive yet, but beware, because if you're coming from the eastern side of the Beltline area, or folks who are coming into the area from Inglewood or Ramsey, it might be a little bit disruptive once things get going. But heck, more trains mean fewer cars mean less traffic, and less traffic means it's easier for people to get in and out and have fun. And so, we'll see when it happens. It'll take a little while though, but beware, it's going to start pretty quick. And finally, things that are going to happen eventually. We mentioned the Green Line. There's, I would say, 3 things that are all going to happen in the Stampede Park vicinity, but we don't know precisely when, because the construction of these things are more or less contingent on things happening with the Green Line. And to be honest, you heard me mention it when we talked about the Stampede Trail redevelopment stuff they're doing sort of concurrently with the Scotia Place development. You only really want to dig stuff up once. So if you're going to be doing construction in an area, you want to try to get as many useful things done in that process as you can. And so things that are happening on the north side of Stampede Park, they're going to be the things that determine when these projects happen. In no particular order, we're talking about the 6th Street underpass that goes beneath the CPRKC right-of-way into East Village. There is already a 4th Street one that connects to Stampede Trail. This is part of the funding package for Scotia Place, getting the funding in place for this underpass. Again, the idea is to increase connectivity and allow people to get in and out of this area and the Beltline area in general faster. So that'll be happening quick. But again, they're waiting, I think, to figure out what the exact construction schedule is for the Green Line and how that looks, because if you're going to be taking an underpass, you don't want to have too many. You just don't want to be having to be too disruptive. So they want to see what they can do to sort of piggyback on the other stuff that's happening there. Another thing that's happening, we haven't seen this discussed very much, but it's mentioned on the CMLC website and the CNE district website, so we want to mention it. The Riverwalk extension. Right now, the Riverwalk, boardwalk system sort of ends around the confluence, formerly Fort Calgary. The plan is, once everything's done with the bridge over from Inglewood for the Green Line and all the stuff they're doing there, they're going to extend it south. I think the idea is they're going to extend it all the way south to sort of the southern boundary of Stampede Park, so that, let's say you're someone who loves biking, or maybe you're someone who just loves scenic walks, you can start at the south end of Stampede Park on the river and walk north, and you can walk all the way around past Princess Island into past Eau Claire, all the way to where the where things end. I think close to 14th Street. So the River Walk is one of the cooler things I think the city has done. A lot of the areas are really beautiful, especially in the summer and the spring where everything gets all green and pretty. They're equally, they're somewhat pretty in the winter too. But I mean, I think they're at their best in the spring and summer. So that's going to happen. But again, it's sort of contingent on the scheduling for the Green Line stuff. And I'll be remiss if I don't mention disclosure. I love trains. The Government of Alberta fairly recently has announced a regional rail strategy for the province, sort of combining high-speed rail, regional commuter rail, and the local transit systems. It's still very much in its conceptual phase, and I think they're sort of hammering out the projects that they'll use to sort of go from interesting concept and cool idea to actual good system. And so one of the things that they've really talked about frequently that I think could become kind of a cool thing in the area, the term the Grand Central Station. So the idea is, hypothetically, when this is all done, they would like to have high-speed rail between Calgary and Banff and high-speed rail between Calgary and Edmonton. And I hear every one of you that hate those drives going, hell yeah. If it turns out the way they hope it will, hell yeah, it could be really cool. But they kind of need some connectivity. And the area that they've sort of identified as being a good spot for connectivity with the rail systems that already exist is, that area around 9th Avenue, around the CPR-KC alignment, the big divider between downtown and the Beltline. And so the idea is when they build the Event Center LRT station on the Green Line, they want to integrate that in with some kind of a Grand Central Station that sort of acts as sort of the hub in Calgary, in downtown Calgary, for the other stuff they're doing. So, you could take the C train, get off at that station, move to a different platform, jump on a train, and you're in Banff, or you're in Edmonton, or you're wherever. So right now, it's still very conceptual. The thought is later in 2025 or early in 2026, they're going to have more tangible, concrete details about how that looks as Green Line planning progresses, especially once they figure out sort of how the downtown area looks. I think the plans for the Grand Central Station will become a lot more crystallized and a lot more concrete. But in the interim, it's something that's going to happen eventually, and it's something that could, if it's executed the way they want it to be, it could be really cool. So, again, there are many things that are definitely happening. Scotia Place, it's actively being built. The hotels, the 3 hotels in those 2 big projects, one of them is they're starting site prep. The other one, they're basically getting their ducks in a row to do all their procedural stuff with the city to get the permits to get that ready in 2026 for construction. And then we have the Green Line and sort of the many things that will pivot off of what happens with Green Line construction. So the long and the short of it is, I think we've all seen a lot of really interesting, exciting, cool stuff happen in the Stampede Park area over the last few years. We've seen the extension of 17th Avenue into the area. We've seen the complete redevelopment and expansion of the BMO Center. We've seen the complete redevelopment of the Vic Park train station. There's a lot of cool stuff that's been done. For better or for worse, the work ain't done yet. And so there's going to be, for better or for worse, a few more years of construction, probably creeping towards 2030, depending on how train construction goes, that will make the Stampede Park area a bit of a zoo. But I think they're hoping that it's short-term pain for long-term gain, and by the time the last crane has departed the area, that they have an area that sort of lives up to the promise and the potential that they feel like Stampede Park and that whole area has had for a long time. So we'll see how it goes. It's easy to talk a big game. So far, the stuff they've done has lived up to the talk. So that's the standard that we've got to hold them to, and so far so good. That's all I got for this video. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you really like this video, please click the subscribe button. If you got comments or questions or anything you want me to look at in a future video, throw them down in the comments. And thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.